Welcome to the next episode. I think this is episode 5 of the AI Business Lab. So today we're talking about how most businesses have at least one AI success story, one team, one workflow, one tool that's working. So why does it never spread? Today we're breaking down the real reason AI stays stuck in the pilot phase and how to build the infrastructure that lets it scale. Super relevant to what I'm doing at my marketing company. Ryan, I know you've done this, helped other companies build this. We saw this happen pretty much since January, and we are just in the last 3 weeks starting to break out. So what was happening was, I won't even say one department, one person, couple people, 2 people, myself, my senior marketing person, he's kind of a jack of all trades. We were building out AI and it was scaling with us, but we were having trouble bringing the team along. And we've been working real hard in the last couple of weeks to figure out how to apply this across the entire company. Do you have some experience with helping a team scale outside of just their individual people or departments, or you run into this before?
I personally haven't. Most of what I do is individualized flows or agentic flows for specific departments. But that is a big thing that I know you and I have been talking about of how can we get kind of inter-department communication and external department communication within these agents. So each different agent is on the same page, just as most humans are in any company. They're on relatively same pages as they're trying to grow the company out. But I
So
personally haven't directly built
okay,
stuff.
so you're not building what I would refer to as a harness across the entire company, but how come this? I mean, relevant to what we're talking about. How come with the companies you are working with, you are just building agentic workflows department by department? Where do most companies get caught up trying to implement this across departments? Or
Yeah,
why do they choose to do it that way?
the biggest issue, at least from what I've seen, is the actual quality of the data. Um, and not really many people think about that. Most people just think about like putting a chat GBT wrapper or some kind of Claude agent in their system and just having it try and do whatever that person asks it to do. And obviously a big problem with AI is hallucinations and stuff. So until companies, especially companies I work with, until they are either ready to go through the whole data process of building out, whether it's centralized databases or like micro central databases. So each department has their own centralized database that then can be linked across each other at a more global level. Until companies are ready to really do that, or in this case, spend the money to do that, I personally haven't been able to kind of build that what you call harness across the company. Because if the data is no good, then the AI is only as good as the data you can give it. Pretty much simple as that. So that's a big thing I've ran into is a lot of bad, messy data.
What is what is messy data to you? When you,
Mm.
I hear that a lot, and people always say messy data, messy data. I know what my definition of messy data is, but what
Yeah.
is maybe messy data to you?
It could be a variety of things. Like the biggest one I see is people having splices of data across different like databases. So they have Excel for this. They might have a Google Sheet for this. They might have a SQL database for that. They might have a bigger data lake in like the AWS cloud, but it's all over the place. And it's just like even at some of the like major companies I've worked for that have billions in revenue year over year, they still don't even have stuff like that. They have one little database here, then they have 700 Excel sheets, then they have some guy with a Word document that has all that information, and when you're trying to work with that, it's very difficult to just interconnect all of that, and that's just in one department. So imagine that across 7 different departments and trying to have an AI learn and understand how the company works. It's near impossible.
That raises an interesting point. So I'm reading my show notes for today, and one of the things I noted down was that I think the biggest opportunity in AI exists on, I'll call them the edge cases, depending on who you are listening to this. You the one edge case is actually more common than most people realize. So the big edge case is the $1 billion companies, the Metas and the
Yeah.
actual LLM drivers, the AWSs, the Googles, and nobody listening to this is on that edge case. The other edge case would be, I think, the less than 10 million, which is the majority really of businesses who are probably ignoring this. I think for two reasons. It increases capacity. So everyone's looking for, like, how does this work? You can increase customer satisfaction with AI. You can increase efficiency. You can create larger margins. There's a lot of ways to think about this, but from my experience, the companies under 10 million are nimble enough to implement a lot of these AI workflows because the teams aren't big yet. So, example, I'm marketing. We're working with a 9-figure company, and this is just on the marketing side. This can't even say the words AI around these guys, but just on the marketing side, the amount of buy-in you need to get to just build a new website, you need the ecom dev team, you need the sales team, you need the marketing team, you need the C-suite team, there are just so many layers of people that need to buy in to just debating on what CMS to use is been a month-long conversation. The idea that you would change how you do things with AI is like, that's on like another planet. Well, the companies like my company, some of the doctors we work with, I actually, a friend just launched his law firm. He's not going to hire any paralegals. He's going to use AI to start, so he can really figure out what his ICP is, his ideal customer profile is. He has a lane, but he's trying to pick exactly how he's going to attack that. And so before investing into paralegals, he's going to figure out the AI systems, and then he's going to introduce paralegals. That brings like another point. We keep hearing AI's eating all the jobs. My case, I'm like, I wish I had more people right now, because we could go faster. Like, we are going faster, but we could deliver more things to more people. So a big thing for us this year has been getting into videography services, and we're using a lot of AI workflows. But I need people like in the room. People are like, yeah, we're willing to pay you. I need somebody to come down in and do the interviews and do the work. And we couldn't do that a year ago, but now that we have AI, it's at a price point that we can provide it for people, and it's really good. So I think it'll create jobs. We always hear like those edge cases of like Facebook or Meta, and they're getting rid of people, but like those weren't your typical businesses.
No, not at all.
What so you're talking about, you don't have it going cross department yet when you are working with people. So this is a bit complicated, and I know, depending on who you are listening to this, one of the issues that we're running into with this is, so the web dev team, we have a really great agentic web development process now that's working super well. We've worked really hard over the last month to get here, but now that process exists just in a dev department. And so now we have to figure out how it reports out. So like the monthly reporting on other pieces, like how do we take that and how do we intertwine that? And it sounds so simple when I say it, and I've explained it to Ryan, I've explained it to many people. But what I am coming to the realization is we were just talking about this. There's no, like, if you look at a company, let's call it like the CEO, the CEOs, if you're familiar, you've seen like a CEO dashboard. There's no tooling that works really well between like a CEO dashboard and the actual agents that exist doing the work. And I'm really struggling with the up and down communication between like an agent that exists down here and it reports back up into this, and then some at that control layer. The technical term called a control plane, but think of it as a CEO dashboard. How does that data pass back and forth? And I think that's one of the things we're going to see solved here in the remainder of the year, is you will start seeing this tooling that allows departments to interact with each other a little better. Maybe it starts to help clean the data. Again, a little technical, but do you use a knowledge graph? Do you use a vector database? These are all situations that are rooted in like developer speak, but now people like us that are coming in to help other companies with AI are starting to think about, like, what does this look like? How do you make it robust? How does it not break? What else? So this is I know you've had this experience. One of the things you struggled with a mutual friend of ours was, I guess, the AI champion, if you will. There was nobody
Yeah.
besides the CEO.
Yeah.
You talk a little bit about how that, like, that's where, initiative, I guess that's really where any initiative, but that AI specifically, if someone's not going to spearhead that, like, what were some of the hurdles you had with getting people to buy in?
Yeah. The biggest one is what you kind of just talked about, is the whole job thing. A lot of these people were afraid that this AI was going to take their job, even though I explicitly told them it wouldn't. The CEO explicitly told them it would not. It's was there to help them. Um, that was probably the number one biggest thing. And then the next one was people don't like people hate change. I feel like just naturally in human nature, people don't like any sort of change. And with this was like a pretty big change of their workflows and stuff, even though it did and is making their lives significantly easier.
Mm-hmm.
Just the fact of having to change what they do, what they know works alone is a pretty big hurdle, on top of the fact that they're afraid of, oh, this is going to take my job, I don't want to even touch this. Those were the two biggest hurdles, but we did have one guy, I'll call him E. He um he kind of was that AI hero, if you will, or AI champion, who took the app, started using it a lot, started showing his coworkers how the app was working, how it was helping him in his own flows, and then it slowly kind of started spreading. It's still not even honestly fully developed across the. It's like 17 people, still not fully developed across the or adopted across the whole team, but it is slowly kind of inching its way out there across the design team right now. And it's been like a 2 month, 2.5, 3 month process already, and it's like, but it's slowly but surely getting across. But yeah, those are probably the two biggest hurdles I've seen and noticed.
So I have my answer to this because own my company and I have 13 people I have to teach this to. But when you're with your experience and some of the apps you've built, AI apps that you've built, what are things leadership need to do to get people to be willing to use some of these AI tools? Is there anything you've seen someone do that you're like, oh, that was pretty smart?
Use it themselves. Best thing, lead by example. Watching the CEO use it, talk to the now AI champion of this company, and how excited he was getting, showing all the possibilities and opportunities it was creating. That is by far the biggest factor. Because I think if the CEO didn't even touch it, no one would be using it. They'd be paying for it, and no one would be wanting to use it. So leading by example is the best way, because CEO led, obviously that's not his job, but he was using it, show the others how helpful it could be. They started using it, and now the ROI they're seeing on that singular product is significant. The outputs they're producing, the work they're getting done with it, compared to before it existed. What's your
I,
answer to that? I'm curious.
I have three pieces. So the first one was
Okay.
me, same as you. I had to use
Yep.
it and get curious, and then identified the person who was willing to use it.
Yep.
He started doing it, and then he started outpacing everybody. Everyone's going, "What's going on?"
Yep. Yep.
We got to a point where I was paying for all the seats, all the tokens. I was paying for everything, and there were still people just not using it. And it
Yep.
came. So this is the cook or the chef versus like the support cooks. Is
Yep.
there can really only be a handful of chefs, if
Yep.
more than one. And so the other people who aren't using it, oftentimes it's just not in their personality. So um, we do personality. I don't love disc testing. We don't do disc. We do work. It's called Working Genius, but that lets me know, kind of who the types of people I have, and you can kind of think of it as like a puzzle. And so there's a specific personality type that is I haven't looked at in a while, but it's tenacity, and basically they like getting shit done. And they're
Yeah. Yeah.
the greatest
Yeah.
team members. Like, we have a handful of them, and they're awesome. They're also the least likely to use AI. because they want a checklist, they want to know what's expected
Yeah.
of them, and they want to show up and just crush it.
Yeah.
And so those people are never going to jump in and use AI. And so we had
Yeah.
a handful of those. And so for them, it came down to like, how do I build training? How do I build exercises? And this is where I really get like, I think a lot about these are some of like the greatest people I've had on my team ever. And I'm not frustrated that they're not using AI. I'm just identifying like, oh, it's not in their personality type,
Yeah.
working personality type. So how do you build a company harness that enables these just incredible people to do more of their incredibleness? So
Yeah.
uh, our account manager comes to mind. She wants to show up, she wants to go through email, and she wants to just crush it. She loves working with people, providing good. But she's like AI bringing up. She's like, I can write emails with AI, but like, what else do you really want me to do? So
Yeah.
how do I empower her to help more clients? And um, there's tools coming out like it's called Day AI. The guys, they came from HubSpot, but basically it's an AI database that's monitoring and tracking all of the touch points you have with clients. And so it's building data from day one from a client coming in. And
Yeah.
so like, do we build internal tools? Do we buy tools like
Uh,
that to help her be
yeah. Yeah.
be awesome? So right, it's my responsibility to solve for them. It's not their responsibility to solve for me. Does that make sense? I mean,
Yeah. Yep.
within reason, like
Of
if
course.
we implement a new AI system around development and a developer's just like, no, well then they're no longer
Yeah. Yeah.
doing their, you know,
Yeah.
their job. But that's one of the things, is figuring out how I can introduce this in a way that makes sense to their person. I spend a lot of time
Yep.
thinking with that. So those would be
Yeah.
my ways of going about it. And then not expecting, right? I always use this analogy in business. Uh, Owning and running a business is like just being given a whiteboard and you're free to draw however you want.
Yeah.
Most people don't want to do that. And the idea that you would ask somebody in a small business to be entrepreneurial goes against why most people are working for you in
Yeah.
the first place.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like entrepreneurs get frustrated, like, well, why can't they do it? Well, that's not who they are, right? Like, it's
Yeah.
just not.
Yep.
So it's unreasonable to ask that of them, I think. Um, what are some simple things people should be doing? I mean, the CEO working with it, I think, is the first thing. But
Mhm.
one of the things that, again, I've spent a ton of time thinking about, you talked about it when we started, is where does the data exist and how does it exist? Um, Introducing people with like prompt libraries or workflows. What are some like simple tools that, I'll give you mine, so maybe it'll spur some ideas, like N8N or Make. These are like a Zapier type platform where you
Yep.
can introduce like a workflow. It doesn't have to be agentic by any means, but you can introduce like an agentic node to the
Yep.
workflow. So if you're listening to this, let's say customer service request comes in to an email, like a help email at your company. Maybe the AI reads that email and then routes it somewhere, right? So like that's an AI agentic, like you've given the AI rules and it needs to read and assess what it is, and then from there it's really just a mechanical process. Like it's deterministic on what it's going to do, versus the old way is like there was no way to read and assess what that email is. A human would have to do that, so that's where you can use an AI. So I think a
Yep.
good place to start is some of these like N8N tools or Make, where you
Yeah.
can just use a single simple AI node without having to make an entire agentic system.
Yeah.
That so do you have some other infrastructure ideas when someone's like, hey, how can I introduce this to the team or kind of dip our toes into this?
Yeah. I mean, the main one is telling people to use AI tools that are already a part of their current like flows. So like Google has oh my God, I'm blanking out. Whatever Google, oh my God, hold up. I have it on my notes somewhere. Google's Copilot, like Copilot, like just using that. Like you're using Google all the time, or Microsoft, excuse me. Microsoft products all the time. Like we have it even at one of my companies, in the email, in this calendar, all that. But then there's also Copilot. So that kind of helps, I would say, baby people into using it because it's already something they're using every single day. So, and like Notion, they have their own AI. I know Grammarly has their own AI. Like just tons of software companies that have their own incorporated AI. I think that's the best place for people to start. Instead of here, use this completely foreign software that's gonna automate your whole workflow and do this and that. It's, oh, just go use that, or go have Copilot help you send an email, or go have Copilot schedule a meeting with your boss or something. Very easy, very basic starter points, but then it gets people in the right mindset and to see how much it can improve on their daily life, their daily workflows, whatever it may be. And then
Mhm.
that immediately, in my opinion, opens up the brain a little bit to wanting to explore more things like, oh shoot, if this can do this, what else can I do with this now?
So that, I think, the last part of where we're going to close here is like, how do you implement? Where do you start to implement AI? And one of the things I think has nothing to do with AI. People struggle with, like, they're implementing like little things that don't feel meaningful
Yep.
because they don't actually have their business documented. They don't know all of the SOPs. They don't know what everybody does. And
Yeah. Yeah.
if that is you, AI implementation is going to be hard. So
Yep.
we have a chief of staff here, and one of her roles is documenting everything people do. So when I said let's build a folder structure, we've talked about this in the past, but AI is just a folder structure with rules, like
Yeah.
tells the folder and the AI to go do something. But we are able to take all of those SOPs and we're able to start sorting it in a folder system that makes sense to introduce AI to. I think a lot of people don't do that. And I would challenge anybody with, you could do this for any business if you spent some time on it. It takes like an operational leader to do it.
Yep.
But if you dig in, it's not that much. I mean, we did it, me and my chief of staff, we got in maybe 4 hours, we were able to probably lay out 60% of it, and we'll probably be done
Wow.
with it later this week. But then what we'll do is we'll go to the individual people and be like, hey, have we accounted for everything in your role?
Yep.
And then we have this folder structure, and then that's when you start to build in the agent.md file. You start to like
Yep.
build in the agentic system. Now there's some other
Yep.
hurdles that will be specific to your business on how you make this all talk to it. But before you ever get to AI, this is a good thing to just do operationally. Is go through like, what is everything that you do. Again, I think a lot of people start to do that and they're like, oh wow, I don't really know how to run a
Yeah.
business, and it
Oh
feels
yeah. Oh yeah.
bad. They know how to provide the service, they know how
Yeah.
to provide the product, they know that specialty, but they don't know the business side of things. And so that's why AI feels so overwhelming, because it's ultimately a business problem. It's not a product or service problem.
Yep. Yep.
Anything to add with that, or contact us if you
No,
want to understand how to
that
build?
yeah, literally. No, I mean, I agree with that because that just goes back to the whole thing of, in a sense, is like the data of how your company works and how it flows and where this goes to that to this,
Mhm.
like understanding that and the current processes are the key. Because then from there, if you know exactly what you want to happen from A to B, that's where you can implement an AI system or an agentic team or a singular agent, whatever it may be, to do that for you in significantly less time. But if you don't know that, you're kind of just going to be going in circles trying to boil like the whole ocean, if you will,
Yes.
which never turns out good. I've tried to do that myself on many personal projects, and it just goes after rabbit hole after rabbit hole, and then I have nothing done that works after days of doing it. So, yeah, no, I agree with you though.
All right. Until next time.
Thank you guys.